That is an interesting hat.
What do you mean?
Very loud.
I don't see how.
Have you seen the colors on it?
I don't see color. It's the Hall of Fame edition of Only Teams That Matter. The Baseball Hall of Fame, a once prestigious building that they've turned into a fucking clown car. I'm sure if I went back in like 1963, there was someone who wasn't on the first ballot that should have been. You know what I mean? I'm sure they've been fucking it up a long time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They really started fucking it up when they were just like, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are out, no matter what.
Yes.
No matter what. I know you and I feel differently about him, but I think it's preposterous that Pete Rose isn't in. Preposterous.
The only thing I'll say about that is obviously like I don't take the same stance on gambling as they do. But at least we don't have any other examples. It's not like we can say, hey, man, this guy was gambling it up and they put him in. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have any. So I'm not really. And also that there's other stuff with Pete that is not as talked about, but like they have a character clause. So like I ain't tripping on it. But just if you're looking at baseball, like I don't care about the gambling. And at least I could say, hey, there's only one example. So you guys are consistent here. Unlike the other stuff, we got the steroids, you got the cheating, and they seem to pick and choose when it's cool, when it's not. I ain't with all of that.
Sure, but even with the character clause, there are other pieces of shit they've also let in.
Understood. Understood. But like that's kind of a slippery slope because it's like, all right, just because it used to be this way doesn't mean it always has to be this way.
Sure.
To be fair to them on that. But that's not what they're citing here anyway. So it's moot.
No.
They choose to not cite it for anybody except Curt Schilling, which again, I said it on the show. I'm not going to be the one to defend him in public. Damn sure not going to be the one. The last one, never. But it is interesting that this is where they're like, yeah, we draw the line here. You can't get in, sir. No, not you. So, but that's what they chose.
I mean, if Schilling were an upstanding citizen, he still wouldn't have been first ballot. So there is some debate. He's maybe the greatest postseason pitcher of all time. His regular season numbers, and I think we'll see it next year with a guy like CeCe, who like 300 wins used to get you in. I have no idea. I think Schilling's like 250, something like that.
Like maybe I personally think he gets in first ballot if he's just not a piece of shit because his playoff resume is so outstanding and he got what, multiple rings, or is it one?
Schilling?
Yeah.
No, you got. I mean, you know he has multiple.
I didn't know if he was on the team in 08. When did they win again? It was 08?
Oh,
07. Sorry.
Yeah,
07.
They won. Yeah, so he's got 3.
When the fuck did he win the third?
Arizona. I wasn't trying to say
it. Oh, yeah. I should have. That was a convenient slip. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, what's he getting at here?
Yeah. No, that was just a complete brain fart. My bad. Yeah. Okay. So
I thought he had 2 because I feel like he was like a reliever on that 07 team.
Bro, I was so locked in. Like, I knew he wanted 04. What else is he talking about? I was so locked in on that. I'm like, yeah, that did happen. Yeah, that's where he pitched like 8 games in the series. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They only used 2 pitchers. It was him and Randy Johnson. They just alternated when they were standing on the mound. Yeah, Schilling, I mean, I think he would have gotten in if he wasn't like a tremendous asshole.
Yeah.
And like intentionally won too. It wasn't like he said something offhand in a private room that someone recorded, and it was just like, man, I was having drinks with the fellas. What do you?
They didn't Donald Sterling him, you mean?
I mean, Sterling was like very clear. He was like, right down.
He was very clearly a racist piece of shit. But then they got him out of here for being a racist piece of shit in private, which is like, that's interesting that this is the final straw, I guess, because he was doing this in public at the games. He was saying wild racist shit. And it was like, he's having a conversation with his mistress in private. And now it's like, oh, no, we can't have this. Like, what? Okay, fair enough, I guess.
He was like, let me get on like Sports Center and say it. Like, that's and like ESPN, I feel like those part gets misremembered. They gave him multiple chances. They didn't. It wasn't like a first offense. He was out of there. They gave him multiple chances, and he was like, "I'm not taking any of them. I'm going to keep going with what I think is fair." And it's just so bad. But even outside of potential steroid users, known dickheads, every year Andrew Jones isn't elected, I get angrier, genuinely angrier.
I have something else on that ballot that makes me angry, but I'm gonna let you go ahead with Andrew because he was incredible. Go ahead.
There shouldn't be any other center fielders who are even considered if we're not going to put Andrew Jones in. When it comes to offense and defense, there's one guy that has really matched his resume, and it's Willie Mays, who I think most of us would agree is the greatest center fielder of all time.
Yeah.
And Willie Mays, like, I think Willie Mays may have like one of the firmest GOAT cases pre-Ohtani, but firmest GOAT cases when you factor in the entire game. Obviously, Bonds had a better bat, but we're talking like less than 100 home run difference between the two. It's not. They're both up there.
It's not preposterous to say that Willie Mays was the best player of all time, is, depending on what you value, because obviously Ohtani hasn't done it that long. Fine,
for sure.
Whatever we want to say, like, he's a tier 1 guy, like, period. That's what it is.
I think he has the most ironclad case because of the longevity, because of the defense. Like, as great as Bonds was, he was fine out in left field. He was fine.
He was fine.
Fine.
He wasn't embarrassing himself. He was fine. He was fine. He was not great by any means. He was fine. He made his bones, obviously, 1, hitting the ball at the ballpark, 2, getting on base, 3, running like shit on the bases. That's how he made his bones. His defense was very, very secondary.
Right. Yeah. No one should have ever, and I don't remember anyone ever saying anything about his defense.
Right. Nobody's ever paid Barry Bonds a lick to play defense. That's never been the calling card ever.
But when you are talking like 1 overall, you do have to start nitpicking.
For sure.
I don't know that the offensive gap, especially when you factor in, obviously it's both San Francisco, but when they built the park, because Willie Mays was on the Giants when they were in New York, they moved to San Francisco. They go out to a site to decide where to build the park. They're like, this is sick. It's right on the water. They only check it during the day once. One of the stranger things to do. They're like, yeah, this seems fine. They have no idea that at night it turns into like just a wind tunnel that knocks balls out of the sky. Willie Mays would have had like 60 more home runs just charting his home games because of that fucking wind. So that, yeah, I think he's a 700 home run guy, like, comfortably, factoring in everything we know now. But Andrew Jones, when it comes to defensive runs saved, your own 2 fucking eyes, and you said it with Ohtani, the longevity part, it gets used against Andrew Jones in a way that I find like truly perplexing. He didn't have a hot 16, you know what I mean? He didn't have a decent 5-year run. We're not talking about like Ryan Braun here, and I know he has other stuff too, but like there are guys who pop up and have a 3, 4, 5-year run.
I mean, Cody Bellinger's kind of that right now.
Sure.
Right. So
sure.
Yes.
Even he's way more inconsistent. Like Andrew Jones had a decade's worth of dominance. He wasn't okay. Dominance. We're talking about a teenager homering in the World Series. Like that
I'm glad you brought that up, because to me, it looks like him being up that early is used against him, which is amazingly odd to me. Because it's like, all right, yeah, after like age 30, he wasn't great, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's true, right? But like he came up at 19. Like if he came up at 23 and the career trajectory went the same way, we're not having this conversation. That doesn't make any sense. He was good enough to be in the majors and be great at 20. How is that being held against him? That doesn't make any sense.
He wasn't even on like the 29th best team. Like he was on what would have been the team of the decade.
No, he played in the World Series at 19. Right. At 19, and not in some like, yeah, you're just going to come and pinch run. No, he was starting, bro. It was his job. It was his show. So at 19, he was starting in the World Series. At 20, he was great. And okay, he fell off at 30. A lot of people fall off 10 years in.
My
Lots.
thing is, if he had just dropped dead, there would be no argument. None.
Another thing that's absurd. Because what's the difference? Like,
Right.
okay, he put together some bad years. Great, but we don't we pick and choose when the bad years matter. And I guess,
For sure.
yes, in the case of borderline guys, I guess it should matter. But we're talking about somebody who had 11 or however many great years and was arguably the best defensive player in the history of the sport at his position, arguably. So I don't understand the case against him. I really don't.
When I see Mauer get in as easily as he got in, and I don't have a problem with Joe Mauer getting in. Like, I genuinely don't. Number one overall pick. Could have played fucking quarterback. Him and Todd Helton could have both been quarterbacks if they wanted to. Mauer won 2 MVPs?
One.
Well, have multiple batting titles, what I'm thinking of.
Yep.
Not a power guy necessarily. Not the best player on his own team for a year because Morneau won an MVP.
Oh, don't get me fucking started. Oh, God, don't get me started on that bullshit. Number one, he was the best player on that team. Number one. Number two, and this is going to be the rare moment where I throw a Red Sox player bouquets. How he won an MVP over Jeter or David Ortiz. Pick one. I don't give a fuck which one you wanted to pick. How he won it over both of them will forever baffle me. But yeah. Mauer was the best player on that damn team.
It's part of my problem with using awards to talk about someone's greatness because they are flawed. Like, well, the voters are idiots. We're talking about how dumb they are now. With all the hindsight in the world, they are still getting it wrong. That's what kills me. How are we supposed to expect them to get it right on a year-to-year basis? Of course they're going to fall in love with the narrative. Of course that's what they're going to. Russell Westbrook, and I'm for his MVP. I know a lot of people think it's a bad MVP. He won that MVP the day Durant signed with the Warriors. The day. That's the day Russell Westbrook won that MVP.
Not wrong.
And he went out and he fucking busted his ass.
He the regular season that year was him justifying their decision.
For sure.
Because the decision was already like, if he's what he's been and they win like 47 games, he's getting the MVP. And he justified their decision to give him the MVP.
Right. But it was predetermined. It was a predetermined award.
For sure.
Andrew Jones, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, every time I talk about it, there's always Mets fans who are just like, I would shit myself when this guy stepped in the box. Like, listen to the fans of opposing teams in their division when it was just like, yeah, if we hit a ball up, we knew he was coming down. It didn't matter if it was left field, second base, behind the catcher. Andrew Jones was going to catch that shit. And yeah, he got paid by the Dodgers, got fat, and stopped trying. That boosts his Hall of Fame accolades in my eyes. Like, that's unbelievable.
Ow.
That used to happen all the time.
True.
Players would get big contract like that. You don't even hear that anymore. Oh, this guy's just going to get paid and he's not going to stop caring. That used to be routine. A guy would get a big contract and just stop caring entirely. That's so cool. It's the Hall of Fame. It's not even the Hall of Excellence. It's the Hall of Fame. We're talking about famous. That's all the Hall of Fame. I'm a very literal person when it comes down to this shit. They could have named it anything. It's the Hall of Fame. Andrew Jones, objectively, he played in the same era as Griffey, and everyone was like, yeah, that guy's cool too. Like, his Griffey's massive shadow didn't even reach Andrew Jones. It reached the rest of the league. Andrew Jones got some sunlight during that era. That's how fucking cool and good Andrew Jones was. It's insane. Someone of his caliber. And I'm supposed to trust everyone else's defensive metrics? Scott fucking Rollins in, but Andrew Jones isn't? Get the fuck out of here.
You read my mind. First of all, if we're going to just look at the career, strip away the other stuff, narrative, whatever you want to put, like, Rollins' career was slightly better. Now, I don't think there's a good argument for one to be in the Hall of Fame and one not to be. I don't think there's a big gap there. And both of them, a lot of their value came on the defensive side of the ball. Like, both of them were good offensive players, but they weren't knocking the world on fire. Offense, they just weren't. They were good, not knocking the world on fire.
Well, with Jones, let me find the exact stat, because it's something like seasons with 25 defensive runs saved and 25 home runs. I'm pretty sure he's the only person with multiple of those.
I'd bet. Yeah, I'd bet he is.
And he did
I
it
would
like
bet he
5
is.
years in a row. Like it wasn't,
Right.
you know what I
I'd
mean?
bet
Like
that he is.
he wasn't hitting for average. It's one of those things where, like you said, they pick and choose when that matters. They pick and choose who average matters for. You're talking about the best glove in the league.
And you're
Hitting,
talking about a guy who was really good offensively. Like, not great, fine. But he did more than enough offensively. Like, this is not, and I'll touch on this a little bit later. This is not the Omar Vizquel Hall of Fame case. It's not.
no.
No, it's not. Like, this is not that.
So all of these stats are from the ace of Spader, who just churns out baseball stats like nobody's business. Most career seasons with at least 150 games played in center field and 25 home runs hit. Willie Mays is 1. He has 10 of those seasons. Andrew Jones tied for 1. He also has 10 of those seasons. No other player has 9. No other player has 8. No other player has 7. No other player has 6. No other player has 5. So at best, there's another center fielder out there with 4 of those seasons. So less than half as many as Andrew Jones and Willie Mays. That's what I mean. When people talk about him like he had a 3-year run, he had 10 years where he played at least 150 games of Gold Glove center field defense and 25 home runs. That's enough.
And
like, that's enough.
And 25 is putting it lightly. Like, I'm looking at his numbers right now. Per 162, he was a 34, 103 guy. 263, 342, 497, and a 114 OPS plus. How is that not good enough to get somebody in the Hall of Fame? And it kind of, and like, I'm being a little bit preemptive because this guy is still in the middle of his career, but he's 30. So it kind of reminds, obviously, like, he's probably not going to fall off the way Jones did, but like Lindor. If Lindor was like to do what he's doing now for, let's say, 2 more years and retire, you're looking at a pretty similar case. Like,
For sure.
not the same level defender, but excellent underrated defender, good but not necessarily great offensive player for an extended period of time. Because if you're going to tell me you're giving me like tier 1 of all time defense and 15% above average offensively, and you're doing this for a decade, and you started at 20, what is the case against him? I don't. Yeah. What's the case against him is flimsy at best to me.
Seasons with at least 25 home runs and 25 defensive runs saved. Andrew Jones has 4 of them. This is from 2020. I don't think it's happened since. I feel like it would have come up.
I feel like we
just in case.
I feel like we saved. Yeah.
Andrew Jones has 4. Every other player in history combined has 2. That's it. Complete list of center fielders with at least 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, and 20 outfield assists in a season. Andrew Jones in 98, Willie Mays in 54. That's it. Andrew Jones is the only player in baseball with at least 300 home runs, 200 defensive runs saved, and 150 stolen bases. Either they care about defense or they don't. The picking and choosing of this shit is insane to me. If I were drafting a team, and again, I think Joe Mauer is worthy. If I were drafting a team all time, Andrew Jones's name comes 7 rounds before Joe Mauer's.
That's a good one. I don't know. I genuinely don't know because obviously Mauer was a really good defensive catcher who could hit. So I'm not sure. I mean, I guess if we're talking about draft in the literal sense, you're probably taking somebody like Andrew Jones way ahead of Mauer. If for nothing else, like catcher, we know how it is, wear and tear, blah, 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 blah. But like as players, just straight up, like, yeah, Jones was better.
Yeah.
Jones is better.
It's not a knock either.
He was better. It's not a knock. Like I personally think catchers rightfully should be graded on a curve.
I think that was center fielders too. I think that was I think every position needs to be looked at individually. I know it's a team sport.
Oh, for sure. But I mean with the catchers, like I think the threshold should be lower. Because bro, you're putting yourself through hell. Like at least with center fields, like, all right, that's different. Like catcher, you're putting yourself through hell. Look, if it's borderline, just let them in. Like Yadi Molina, I'm not a fan. Let him in. Let him in. Like he's been really good for a long time. He's definitely getting it. Right. But like we're talking about whenever Buster Posey's case comes up, I'm sure the longevity stuff will come up. Like, but I don't give a fuck. He played 10 years. Did he not? He played 10 years. He was great. They won a bunch of World Series and all that. Like, he was great. Just let him in.
Right.
Let him in.
I don't mean to pick on Mauer. Helton obviously should have been in. I think this was like his 4th or 5th term.
I think it was 5th.
Yeah, like that. It's not like they've been having 10-man classes year after year. The voting has been disgusting over the last like 15 years. Jeff Kent too, like that's why it's like, yeah, every position should be treated on a different
Jeff
scale.
Kent has the most home runs for a second baseman ever.
Right.
And he's not in the Hall of Fame. What are we doing?
Yeah.
But why? What are we doing? And it was not like we could say, oh, we only had 3 good years. That's not the truth. No. You gave him a fucking MVP he didn't earn, but that comes up in these discussions. Hell, I saw, and this has been a consistent thing. Listen, I'm from New York. I live here. So I saw the Mets mid 2000s run, right? Well, run, whatever you want to call it, the mid 2000s Mets. So I'm vaguely familiar with the Phillies of those times. And I keep having people tell me it hasn't been one time, it hasn't been 2 times, it hasn't been 3 times, that Jimmy Rollins was the best player on those teams. And I need that lie to stop. Knock it off. Chase Utley was right there. And the thing is with Chase Utley, when you compare him to Rollins, like Rollins had an outsized personality. He liked to talk. He liked to make himself seen. Like, not in the bad way, just outgoing in that way. I've never heard Chase Utley talk outside of the introductions at the stadium during the All-Star game, and he said, "Boo, fuck you," and they had him mic'd up. Yeah, I've never heard him talk outside of that, right? But he was the best player on those teams. But that circles back to the damn awards and how it frames these conversations. Jimmy Rollins MVP Hall of Fame case is bullshit. He's on the ballot. He's gonna get some support because they like him. But bro, his career OPS plus is 95. And his defense damn sure was not good enough to overshadow that shit. So what are we talking about?
Rollins was sick. Utley, I think, also has. I don't think Rollins has a case to get in. He was very cool.
Right.
Very cool.
And that's cool. And we could just leave it at that. That's great. For sure. I don't mind evaluating players that way. Like, I don't give a fuck about Jimmy Rollins OPS plus until you force me to talk about the shit.
Sure.
Like, I don't care. He was cool as shit. He was a good player for a decent amount of time.
Extremely cool, very fast, some pop. Utley was better. I don't think he was the best player on those Phillies. And obviously, it's a little bit after this guy left the Phillies, and I'm sure you feel a little differently about the player I'm about to say. I'm looking at a guy who played, I think, longer than both of them and finished with a career 128 OPS plus. Do you know who I'm going to say?
No. Bobby
Abreu.
I love Bobby Abreu.
Okay.
I was going to bring him up. I love Bobby Abreu. If you could just drag like one outfielder that used to play for the Yankees from like the last 20 years to the current game, I would take Bobby Abreu so fast. And yes, I'm probably missing somebody really obvious. I just wanted to praise the guy.
For sure.
But I love Bobby Abreu. Love Bobby Abreu. So yeah. Yeah. And I'm not shit. I think Chase was better. Am I going to argue against Bobby Abreu? No. Well, you're not going to get a passionate argument from me against Bobby Abreu. He was incredible. He was not appreciated enough.
No, and this is where, shout out Underdog Fantasy, this is where I do think fantasy sports needs to be part of the formula to get to the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all, fucking obviously.
Right, that would be madness, but yeah.
But there was, I use this example from fantasy basketball all the time because football, it's typically a running back and they die within 3 years. So there's no way to do this in football. In basketball, there was a stretch in the early 2000s where there were only 3 options for the first overall pick. There were Kevin Garnett, because he was a 5x5 guy. There was LeBron James after his second year because he was a 5x5 guy.
Yeah.
And there was a third one of those 5x5 guys. His name was Sean Marion. Sean Marion, to me, is a first ballot Hall of Fame. It wasn't 1 year he was putting up stats. Sean Marion was unbelievable. And fantasy basketball reflected how unbelievable he was because it takes everything into account. So when people say if fantasy is not real sports, 1,000%. I get that. You can't make crazy trades. You can't do all this other shit. I get that. What it does reflect exactly is the box score and the stats. And that takes away the bias implicitly. I fucking hated watching David Lee. You better believe he was a top 15 pick for about 7 years because of all the stats he accrued. Andrei Kirilenko, another guy. I'm not arguing these guys for the Hall of Fame because they weren't as good as Marion. They just weren't. It is what it is. Or for as long as Marion either.
I don't understand. Wait.
That's how I feel about Bobby Abreu, because he was also a top 3 pick for about a decade.
He was great. Now with Sean, did he actually get in, or he never got in?
He may be in. This was an
okay, all right. So he just didn't get in first
I
ballot.
know he's gotten his number retired recently.
Yeah, he did in Phoenix, right?
He should be in.
And the thing with Bobby Abreu, I think Bobby Abreu is the perfect case study in the fact that we are smarter now than we were when he was playing. Like, clearly, we know more, we evaluate stuff better, we prioritize the right stuff. If you don't believe me, just look at some of the lineups teams were running back in 1998. Like, yeah, like Omar Vizquel batting second on purpose. Like, we're just smarter now. And Bob Nightingale, yes, I know. Bob Nightingale, I know. Wrote a piece, and he's talking about Bobby Abreu and, like, how could we, like, turn so much on this guy, like, because he didn't really get a lot of support to begin with. But how do we turn so much on this guy? Like, what happened to the eye test? What happened to the accolades? While in the same piece, talking about Omar Vizquel and the eye test. I'm just like, dude. And the thing with Omar Vizquel, first of all, just a nice little statistical nugget. Of people with 10,000 plus plate appearances, he has the lowest OPS plus ever. They're just the lowest, not 5th, 10th, 5th. No, the lowest. Okay? So telling me the eye test this and like you're acting as, yes, we are evaluating Bobby Abreu more by what we do now as opposed to what we did then. And you guys weren't saying this in 1997 or 2000 or whenever the fuck Bobby retired. Brother, you are a sports writer. This is your fault. This is your fault. This is not our fault. You are a media member. I could say shit like that. I'm not a media member. You could say shit like that. You're, well, adjacent. Like, it ain't. You are a media member. It ain't our job to hype up Bobby Abreu and the Bobby Abreu types. That's not our job. It's your job to show us who's great, who's underrated, who's really good, who's doing this, who the on-base machines are. It's your job to show us that. If he wasn't getting his flowers back then, that's your fault. Look in the mirror. That's your fault.
Right. I only saw snippets of it. I'm not clicking any fucking Bob Nightingale article, especially an opinion piece. Like, but I saw one of the screenshots he talked about, like, top 10 MVP finishes. That's exactly why I don't give a fuck about these awards retroactively. People, every year it goes viral. The year Bill Russell won MVP over Oscar Robertson, averaging a triple-double, Wilt averaging like 712 points a game. And then they're like, how did Bill Russell win this? He went like 60 and fucking 12 and just drubbed Wilt over the head every time they played. That's why. Of course, years later, you're not going to understand that. And I understand the argument to the other side too. What Wilt did was incredible. What Oscar Robertson did was incredible. But now you also see in the modern day, oh, Russell Westbrook gets triple doubles. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, so why do we give a fuck about the guy who did it 70 years ago? What changed? Nothing did. You just don't know him. You don't know him enough to like him or dislike him. That's the difference. Bobby Abreu, from the second he got to Philadelphia in 1998, his first full season, till his last year in Philadelphia, where he was traded to the Yankees in a move that I thought was going to ruin the AL East. Luckily, it didn't.
But I love that move.
But from 98 to 06, so even counting his second half stats with the Yankees in 06, he averaged 157 games, 563 at-bats, 171 hits, 103 runs, 40 doubles, 5 triples, 22 home runs, 95 RBI, 29 stolen bases, 109 walks to 126 strikeouts, an OPS of 928, an OPS plus of 139, 305, 416, 513 triple slash. This guy was as good of a hitter as there was alive at that point in time. If there was anything you needed him to do, he was going to do it. If you needed him to steal, he could do that. It's not a retroactive thing. People who were really out there back then knew how nice Bobby Abreu was. He was unbelievable.
He was. Like, I don't think we probably underrated him in the moment. And the thing with baseball, there are so many guys who could put together relatively quiet Hall of Fame careers for whatever reasons. Either they're quiet, they're on lesser teams, whatever the reasons. I kind of think Bobby fell into that because he wasn't the guy who was out there talking. Like, he played for a lot of mediocre teams, more or less.
Sure.
So he wasn't that guy, but yes, do we value somebody like that now? We value OBP more than we did back then. That's just a fact. It's true. Look at any discussion you can find. We value OBP more now than we did back then. And obviously, the thing with Bobby Abreu that throws a wrench into what the fuck I'm saying as we speak is his batting average was good too. So I'm not even like I don't know
Sure,
why we
right,
I don't know why we underrated Bobby Abreu the way we did.
right.
But a sports writer then telling a baseball writer, excuse me, telling me, oh, how did we revise our opinion on Bobby Abreu like this? You guys weren't talking about him like this. So he is, brother, you are a baseball writer. It's your job.
Yeah, I mean, it. On the one hand, I do think narratives while someone's playing also need to be weighted. Like that needs. But I view that more as like as a when people saw the guy, whether he was in a larger market, whether he was on a good team, whether he came up clutch and a bunch of. I'm not saying like put David Freese in the Hall of Fame, but like if you did something consistently on winners, like fucking Andrew Jones, year after year after year, yeah, that should weigh heavily. Not heavily, but it should weigh in the
It should
formula.
matter. For
Yeah,
sure.
it should matter. You can't use it against someone because that's how like, oh, I didn't watch Bobby Witt play. Obviously, he's at the very beginning of his career, but seems like a guy who could be in this conversation someday. Oh, I didn't watch. Who was watching the Royals? I didn't watch Bobby Witt play. No one was saying at the time he was the best player in the world. Like what? What? It's also like, yeah, he played. Bobby Abreu played an era where there was like a home run chase between McGuire and Sosa and Griffey and Bonds. And it was just like, yeah, was he that level as a rookie? No, he wasn't. Is that fucking his fault? When Bonds is breaking the home run record and Bobby Abreu is like the second best outfielder in the NL that year, is that a negative? Like, we have no problem giving Clyde Drexler his flowers. Like, no problem at all. He wasn't Michael Jordan. That wasn't his fucking. We don't hold that against him.
Right.
Abreu should be in. Utley should be in. There are people I've seen a lot. I thought where I thought you were going when you brought up Phillies fans was there's a. I mean, it's all Phillies fans, but especially online, a lot of them will say like they'll put the numbers up, be like Utley was as good, if not better, than Jeter, and I don't think their case has a ton of holes in it. To be quite frank with you,
I'm not gonna get an argument for me. Like you're not.
But
I
it
mean,
goes to the point where it was just like, and Utley got more shine than Abreu. The Phillies were very unserious prior to like
yeah,
Utley showing up and
right.
Cliff Lee, people like that. They got more Phillies. Let's also remember, as a franchise, the Philadelphia Phillies, I think this is still true, are the only team in professional sports with 10,000 losses. I know they were first to that.
You did cite that on the show.
So
Before, yeah.
that's where Abreu got his start, was the 10, not the Phillies the last 15 years where they're like, hey, we are a big market, let's spend some money. Like, that's not the Bobby Abreu experience in Philadelphia.
No. But Utley being better than Jeter, Utley was great, man. You're not going to get me to argue against the second baseman who's hitting 30 home runs a year.
Sure.
Like, I don't, there aren't many of those that are bad or even bad adjacent. All of them are great. Like, there's not a lot of home runs at that position to be had, bro.
No.
Like, if you're going to do that and you're going to do all the rest of the stuff too, like he was a really good fielder, like hit for average, hit for power, stole some bases. If you're going to do all that stuff, like, you want to say he's better than Jeter? I'm not going to knock you for it. I mean, you could bring up other players. That'd be cool. Like, we don't have to bring up Jeter for everything. Like, you could bring up other players. There are other players that played in that era, in this era, whatever era that Chase Utley is also better than. You could bring them up. There are Hall of Famers Chase Utley is better than. You could bring them up.
You talked about second baseman who could rake. My mind will always go immediately to Dan Uggla from 07 to 11. And this was after he was an all-star as a rookie. Yeah, I should keep that in there because he still hit 27 home runs that year. He went, so this is even longer now, from 06 to 11. He averaged 156 games. He was a 30-30 guy, literally averaged 32 home runs and 32 doubles every year. And he put up a 825 OPS, 116 OPS plus. That's kind of like it's 190 home runs over 6 years for a second baseman. Obviously, he's not a Hall of Famer. Like, I'm not, but people talk about Andrew Jones like this is all he did.
Yes. And it's insane to me that if Jones had come up at 24, and did the same stuff, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because it would be way more understandable that he fell off at 34 as opposed to 30. But it's like, well, look what he did from 20 to 30. And he
Right.
was amazing from 20 to 30. And you guys tell me, how I know this is that Omar Vizquel's bum ass is still on the fucking ballot. Y'all tell me that defense is this, that, and the third. Okay, he one of the best defenders, the singular defenders of his generation and of all time, and
Yeah.
while actually contributing with the bat, and like contributing with being light with it. But you know what I mean. So what is the case against him? He was good on both ends, and he was one of the best ever on one of those ends of the field.
And I was terrified when Andrew Jones signed with the Yankees. Even though I knew he had been washed, I was like, this is
I always forget that he played for the Yankees. I'm not gonna lie to you.
2 years.
There's because that was like 13 and whatever it was, brother. From 13 to 15, you could tell me anything happened with the Yankees.
11
I
and
would
12.
11 and 12.
Yeah.
Oh, he played on the playoff teams. Okay, that's a all right, fair enough. Because I know Ichiro played on the non-playoff teams, and I
Right.
always forget Ichiro was a Yankee. And like once a month, somebody just randomly posts like, "Oh, Ichiro in a Yankee jersey." It's like, oh, okay, forgot that happened. That's right. Yeah, man. But I don't. That being used against him is crazy, and we gotta. And also, I did see this before I got here. There are a lot of people who like to remain anonymous with their votes, who put Omar Vizquel on their ballots. You fucking cowards. If you were ballsy enough to put that dude on the ballot, because A, the baseball reasons stink, number one, and B, obviously we know what he's been accused of in what the last 2 years, however long it's been. His support has gone down in some cases, and if you're ballsy enough to still vote for that dude despite this, put your name on it. Well,
Yeah.
why be a why hide? Why be anonymous? You don't want to get fried online? Like what are you afraid of?
I don't know
Yeah.
why ballots are
Allowed to be
secretive to
anonymous?
begin with.
Yeah. I have no fucking idea. It's a Hall of Fame, and you're
Yeah.
telling me these people can make votes and do it in secret. What? That makes no sense.
I'm happy Beltre got in. Still furious. He only played 1 year in Boston. Will always be furious.
Glad he played only 1 year in Boston.
God, good God. Like
That
but
would have sealed his reputation if he played more years.
Beltre is weird too, because it's not as if he came into the league and set the world on fire. And I mean, the reason his Boston season stands out is because he had been dog shit for the entire duration of his Seattle contract. Like it was bad. Offensively, defensively, he had blossomed by then. But
Right.
it's weird if you stick at the beginning. They're like, well, yeah, it takes some guys a while. But if you're unbelievable and then stink, it's just like, oh, this guy, he must have just got lucky for 10 straight years.
I don't understand it. But there's such a sliding scale with regards to the Hall of Fame, because, and I would say that I hate keep bringing up Vizquel, but I don't. I'm gonna bring him up again. And the thing is, Omar Vizquel is like, all right, the main reason this is happening, and this has been happening, is because he was dubbed the next Ozzie Smith. Number one, Ozzie Smith was far better than Omar Vizquel. Like, he made Ozzie Smith look like A-Rod by comparison with the bat. Okay, number one. Number two, if we're gonna put Omar Vizquel in the Hall of Fame, where does it stop? You're gonna put Andrelton Simmons in the Hall of Fame too? Like, we're gonna put Kevin Kiermaier in the Hall of Fame? Like, where does it stop? Because these are similar kind of players.
Sure.
Useful, really good gloves. Kevin Kiermaier, like, you're gonna put him in the Hall of Fame? Well, Andrelton Simmons is the case I like the best because he was a better defender than Vizquel, and he couldn't hit either. So is he going in the Hall of Fame too? Like, what is the difference between them besides Omar Vizquel was looked at a different way in a different era because he followed Ozzie Smith and he's a bigger name. What's the difference? And I don't know, Omar's not going to get in the Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. But he got like 40% of the votes, which is insane to me because the baseball case is bad at best. And then you want to talk about the other nonsense, you would think you'd want to disassociate yourself from it, considering that the baseball case is bad.
Yeah, it's just the picking and choosing. Even a guy like Wagner, I feel like I see more and more support for every year. I don't have a problem with him going in. I genuinely I like the Basketball Hall of Fame the most because they're just like, you're in. They're
Right.
I'm
It applies to everybody. Just, hey man, come on down, baby. Like that's what the Hall of Fame is for basketball. Like, yeah, are they lenient? Sure, they're consistently lenient.
I
Great.
prefer it.
I
I
prefer it.
prefer it.
Like, sure, you want to put Joe Johnson in the Hall of Fame? Be my fucking guest. I do
All right,
not
let's
care.
calm down. Let's just calm down.
No,
Joe
what?
Johnson's a clear Hall of Famer.
Are you sure?
I think so.
I don't think he's clear. I think he should be based on
20,000 points.
what they've established. I think he should walk into the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's gonna get in though.
I think he's like his generation's like Mitch Richmond, kind of. You know what I mean? Like guy who just got buckets, and they're like you said, they've consistently put those guys in.
True.
He hit that 20,000 point benchmark, 7 or 8 All-Stars. I'm pretty sure it's 7. Like it's kind of like I think 5 was kind of where they started the cutoff, and a guy like Chris Webber was like they just kind of held him out. I assume for the Michigan stuff, but. I'm like, let everybody in. Billy Wagner, I don't have a problem with him getting as much love as he gets and as many votes as he gets. He didn't make it this year, but sure looks like he's going to, based on historical trends and stuff like that. And it's about to be his last year on the ballot. But he's got like where the consistency is what kills me. 27.7 WAR, sick. Like that's you know what I mean. Again, he's a closer. I get that. Closers, if we're going to be mean about it, are failed starters. So his WAR is low because he couldn't hack it as a starter.
Yeah.
If we're going to be dicks about it, that's how it is. It is what it is. Andrew Jones, 62.7 WAR. Carlos Beltran, 70. It's another guy I don't understand. Maybe it's the cheating thing with the Astros. Carlos Beltran, you can't say what you say about Bobby Abreu about Carlos Beltran. He was that deal. Every time he was traded at the deadline, every time he was signing as a free agent, it was like leading Sports Center. It was a big fucking deal whenever Carlos Beltran was even thought to be available. Yeah, Adam Wainwright fucking froze him with a trip to the World Series on the line. It happens.
Right.
But Carlos Beltran was every bit as cool and dominant while he was doing it. And he's got the numbers to back it up. I don't understand. Like, I don't remember any steroid accusations with him. So I don't get why you wouldn't want to prop up someone like Carlos Beltran, especially from that era.
I think they're just grandstanding, personally. I think it's just, hey, we can't say that we don't like this kind of cheating and then not punish somebody for that kind of cheating. I think it's bullshit. Like, he'll eventually get in. They'll never actually cite the reason why they left him off, but they'll just leave him off because he cheated or whatever. Okay, cool. They did the same thing with T.O. Obviously not the same reason they held him off. We know why. And they held him off for a year despite his Hall of Fame case being as blatant as you'll ever fucking see.
So this is what I think all Hall of Fame should be. I don't think there should be anything but a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, I think there should only be one ballot. Because then you wouldn't be able to play these little fucking games. Like, oh no, you're a fifth ballot because you didn't give me an interview once in Milwaukee. Like, what does it have to do with anything? Is he in or not? He's not. Okay, maybe 15 years of Veterans Committee can put him in because they seem to be more fair than anybody. But other than that, no, you get one shot at this. If he's a Hall of Famer, enough with the fucking games.
I was gonna say that maybe in certain years you might get like a robust class and you might be leaving off dudes who would get in any other class, but then they have the Veterans Committee, so who cares?
But
they
also, there doesn't need to be a limit. Like, that's self-imposed too. It's not a fucking
okay. Oh, well, fair.
It's not a law. Like, we don't have to go to the Supreme Court to get this changed. We get this changed today.
You can vote for everybody. True, that's true. You can vote for whoever you want that's deserving. Yeah.
And true. Part of the reason those ballots get backed up is because they play these fucking games. Like, Andrew Jones is sitting here in his 8th year. He's climbed up to 61.6% of the ballot. This is also what bothers me. Alex Rodriguez, 34.8% of the ballot. Manny Ramirez, 32.5%. Who are like the 4 dickheads that are like A-Rod's in, Manny's not? Like, they're both obviously not in for the same reason.
Dude, there was one that put Visquel on and then took Helton off. And it's like,
yeah, I saw that.
Bro, Helton hasn't. What did Helton play for the Rockies in 2023 and shit on his case? Like, what happened here? What happened?
I'm just looking at the rest.
And also,
of
Billy Wagner's a better pitcher than Trevor Hoffman, so I'm not even sure why Trevor Hoffman got in the Hall of Fame, and we're still doing this with Billy Wagner.
Sure.
But also, like, David Ortiz got in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, and Edgar Martinez took 10 years. That makes no fucking sense. There's a lot of things that make no fucking sense.
No.
Yeah, I wasn't going where you thought I was going. I could, but I'm not going to derail the show. Yeah, but
you don't get put in a locker. That's why.
Excuse me. Who put my big ass in the locker? You?
Yeah, my bigger ass. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even get to the first ballot, or guys on their first ballot next year. Like a guy like Torrey Hunter, he's on his 5th year. Extremely cool. And honestly, if Torrey Hunter makes that catch against David Ortiz, I think they'd put him in. I'm not even joking. I think if he had that on his resume, they put him in.
Like, would they have to win the series, or it doesn't matter?
Oh, that was our role. I think those were the only 4 runs we scored in that series. Was that swing of the bat? Like,
wait, they lost that series?
No, we won the series.
Oh, right,
more of a joke, but like their
God.
starters gave up fucking dick to us.
We
did. If it wasn't coming off the bat of David Ortiz, we were not scoring in that series.
That play remains funny because he's just hauling ass to go get that ball, and then he just disappears, man.
I thought he died.
He just disappears.
I was like, oh no, I'm happy, but poor anyone but Torrey Hunter. This is a shame. It's Ichiro's first ballot. He's
walking.
If he who's going to be the asshole who doesn't vote for him? You know he's not going to get 100%.
Somebody. I mean, who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe he will, because he was super likable at least, and he was cool. Blah blah. Maybe just he's one of those where everybody just agrees. Maybe. I mean, how many unanimous are there anyway?
None.
I'm pretty sure Mariano got in unanimously. Did he not?
He may have.
I think he's the only one. I think he's probably the only one, which is stupid, but you know.
Highest voting percentage.
Because I know one person left off Jeter off their ballot. I know one. I know that happened.
Yeah, so Mariano's the only one.
Yeah, which is so stupid. So stupid.
He is. I mean, if you weren't voting for Mariano Rivera, you're an idiot. But same thing with Jeter.
The same thing applies for a lot of people. Like who sat there at their computer or wherever the fuck you cast these votes or think about these votes and was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave Ken Griffey Jr. off my ballot. What is the good reason for that? Now, to throw a slight life jacket. If this is one of those things where you know he's going to get, I mean, and this speaks to how fucked the system is. But if this is one of those things where you know he's going to get enough support without your vote, and somebody else needs to vote for the support, I hate it because of the system, not because of the person. But I just
doubt that there's anyone who they were giving you that doesn't have to happen once. It has to happen 10 times.
No, listen, I agree.
On the same ballot, it has to happen 10 times.
I agree. I admit that shit was a reach, but I'm sure somebody's done that at some point. Now, I'm not saying 15 people did it at once. No, I'm not saying 7 people did it at once. I'm saying at least there's definitely a chance that somebody was like, hey, man, Griffey don't need my vote, dude. Like, Jeter don't need my vote, dude. Like, somebody else could get it. And then there's some who are just like, nobody should be in unanimously, which is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. That's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. Like, why should Ken Griffey Jr. not be in unanimously? Who with a brain is going to tell you that he's not a Hall of Famer? Who is going to tell you he's not a fucking Hall of Famer? Whether you talk about the numbers themselves, watching the fucking guy, whichever one, whatever metric you want to use, your eyes, the stats, F4, B WAR, C WAR, all of them. He's a Hall of Famer. What are we talking about? We know he is. It's not borderline.
Yeah, Griffey. So Griffey had the highest vote total until Mariano. Griffey, 3 people didn't vote for him in 2016. And I said it about Andrew Jones, it applies way more to Ken Griffey Jr. If you're one of those 3 people, you shouldn't have rights. And I'm not talking about rights to vote for the Hall of Fame. No, rights. Like out loud.
Voting.
Like you were, you get none of it.
Breathing. You should have
absolutely none of the human rights. Whatever the Geneva Convention put forth, you get none of those. Like that's how fucking stupid. You can't be trusted around people. Like, this is a society. We need to start being more honest. about who deserves to take part in this shit.
Yeah, we need to have harsher standards than the NBA Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame. We need to have
Like
way harsher standards, man.
to vote in this thing, you have to be like an active baseball writer, credited in the Baseball Writers Association of America for I think like a decade. Like they make you earn this vote, and then you do some dickhead shit like this. Like 437 out of 440 people. Those 3 people, you're out. Like you're out. And again, not out of the club, out of society. Whatever we did to the fucking lepers and like whatever we did to those people, that's what we do with baseball writers who are fucking morons.
Like, imagine sitting there and be like, man, I'm gonna show them. I'm leaving Ken Griffey Jr. off my ballot for what? Like, what is the reason? Like, what's the reason? You didn't like his backward hat? Like, well, actually, you know what? That might have been
one of the 3.
That actually might have been it. Like, I was just bullshit. I'm like, oh, actually,
super on
that
the
might have
table.
been it. That is definitely on the fucking table. Like, you ain't like the fact that he smiled a lot. Like, what was the problem where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna leave Ken Griffey Jr. off and it was 3 fucking people, not 1,
Right.
not 2, 3 people who did it. What was the reason?
Jeter had one guy do it, and my thought process here, because Mariano was unanimous in 19, Jeter was on the ballot in 20. My thought process here is everyone was cool with Mariano being unanimous. They didn't want the second guy unanimous ever to also be from the same Yankees team. That would be my guess as to what that one lone dickhead said. Like Derek Jeter is obviously like the most first ballot Hall of Fame player like to have ever existed. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Number 397.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, oh, we're gonna make two Yankees in a row unanimous Hall of Famers. Oh, that's a little bit too much dick riding for me, Bucko. I wouldn't be surprised if that was exactly what happened here.
Nolan Ryan got 491 out of 497. It's like his ERA was too high. Is that what someone was going to say? Like, not for me. Too many no hitters. What was he trying to prove?
He didn't fight enough, maybe.
Cal Ripken Jr. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
How many people didn't vote him in?
8.
Yeah, numbers is going up, man. Damn.
Well, all the numbers are. This was 545 person pool. I think I voted in this one. Like this was 2007. He went 537 for 545. Like, what could possibly be the argument? He didn't play for one of the teams anyone hates. No one hates the Orioles. No one gives a fuck about the Orioles.
He didn't do no cheating shit.
No.
He himself was never disliked. As a matter of fact, the entire nation rallied behind him when he played 18,000 or whatever consecutive games, bro. That's all you ever really heard about with the Orioles for years. Just, hey, man, Cal Ripken doing this again. Because he played 11 consecutive seasons worth of games?
It's crazy.
Which sounds like they must have been shooting him up with some of the best stuff you could find back then, brother. Because
2,632 consecutive games.
Dude, that is like 13, 14 consecutive seasons. What are we doing, bro?
It's like 18. It's
like, what are we fucking doing, dude? Like that. Yeah. Oh my god, bro. Like I want to know what the fuck he was taking. Like, what were they shooting him up with back then? You gonna tell me not one day he got to the park and just couldn't do it? Not one day. One day he just couldn't do it.
Well, he is quite literally in every sense of the world the complete opposite of Anthony Rendon. Like he was like, they could make this season 3 times as long. We could be playing double headers most of the days of the week.
God, I've never seen a more blatant example of reasonable message, wrong messenger. So you don't play baseball. You don't play. Like your gripe is that I travel with these dudes too much. Essentially, is what it is. Because obviously, like if you play this game, you gotta travel with these dudes left. Your gripe is I'm around these people too much.
Way too much.
Because you don't play, sir. You don't play. You are injured often. And I'm not even saying this to knock him for being injured. Hey man, some guys' bodies are what they are. We do know that once you got paid, you checked out. Like it's as blatant as could be. So what? I saw that. I was like, I know that ain't who I think it is talking. I know it can't be. It can't be Tony Rendon. I know it can't be Tony Rendon talking about we need less games. Like, sir, you play like 40 games a year.
It was so funny.
And I don't even know if in some cases, I don't even know if injured dudes necessarily travel with the team either. In some ways they
No, for sure don't.
Some ways they fucking don't. So he might be at home saying this goofy shit still all the same.
It's unbelievable. It was so goddamn funny. Like he was like, "This has been a slow off season. Let's mix it up." Let's like,
right.
And I just shouted out Andrew Jones, like, you talk about a throwback kind of guy. Anthony Rendon had his moment, hit free agency, the perfect off season to cash in and never care again. I tip my cap. I'm all about
and he found the perfect mark. The Angels
for sure.
He found the perfect bozo.
He's like, I've had front row seats to Shohei Ohtani his whole career to this point. He's fine. He's fine. I'm like, can we wrap it up, pal? I need to get home. I'm out of here. He's got to watch Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and he's just like, before that, it was Soto, Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, like Ryan Zimmerman. Like he's played around so much talent. He himself is incredibly talented. Doesn't care. Doesn't care at all.
And he's the one telling us, like, man, they need to cut the schedule. Sir, you don't play.
If someone explains to him that they'll cut the check will be smaller, he'll be like, "I'll play twice as many games. I'm not playing any."
Yo, that's how I know. Like, whoever was doing the questioning, they ain't real. But that should have been the next question. That should be like, hey man, but hey, if they cut the games but also cut your pay, what are you gonna like? What would be your reaction to it? And let's see if he still is on that. Oh yeah, they should cut the game. Let's see if he's still on that. Then after that,
it's unbelievable. Just what a bomb to drop. Ty Cobb, he only got 98.2%. That I understand. That was
that's too much if you ask me. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. You want to penalize somebody? That's the perfect person to do it with.
This vote also happened in 36 too, so I don't even know what was the argument against.
Like, have you ever seen, like, obviously very very old quotes? No shit. Have you ever seen anybody say anything positive about Ty Cobb? Genuinely asking.
Human, no.
I've never. Right, that's what I mean. Like, I've never heard anybody say anything good about Ty Cobb, or read rather anybody say anything good about Ty Cobb ever. Like, ever, not once. And you know how hard it is to accomplish? You can find good shit about everybody. And not him. Like, not one quote.
No.
Not one. Like, he took me under his wing. He was great. None of that. It was just, yo, he could play baseball real good. Like, what about him as a person? Yo, he could play baseball real good. Like, that's all they got to say about him, dude.
They just got other random ones at the bottom. Because a couple of these, I understand. I'm not saying I co-sign it, but like Hank Aaron got 97.8%. That's what 9 people were super racist. Like that's all that was. That was 1980. Like I get it. I understand what happened.
Like, not advocating for it, but it's clear what happened here.
Yeah. Gwynn, I actually don't understand. He got 532 out of 545. I know you wouldn't have fucking voted for him.
Oh yeah, I was one of the voters. I was one of the no voters, motherfucker. Yeah,
Randy Johnson got 93% or 97%. Greg Maddux got 97%. Chipper Jones 97%. Mike Schmidt, like what? What are we doing here?
Mike Schmidt hit like 9,000 home runs. What are we fucking doing, dude?
Ted Williams got 93%. Roberto Clemente got 92%.
Sism. Gotta be. I don't know what else it would be. Sism.
Ricky Henderson, 94.8%. I don't get it. Pedro, 91%. That's preposterously low.
What the fuck must Ty Cobb's funeral have been like?
Celebration.
Like, bro, it reminds me, like, I have this vision in my head of it being like the episode of Fresh Prince where Will basically kills Sherman Hemsley, his character, and then they go to the funeral and everybody's just, it's mad awkward energy. And then Uncle Phil's like, does anybody have any positive words? Like, any positive words? And then somebody just stand up and be like, yo, I'm just here to make sure he's dead. Like, that's what Ty Cobb's was probably like, nobody's saying shit. And somebody's like, hey man, I'm just here to make sure it's done. It's final. Yeah. Like, he's gone, bro.
Boy could swing it though. Let me tell you.
Right. Like, do anybody have any kind memories with Ty Cobb? And everybody's like, no. No, he's swinging good. Like that's what we know about this dude.
Finally, someone felt good about Rhys Hoskins.
It's
They
about
gave
fucking
him
time. We've been mentioning that shit for like 6 weeks. It's about time.
$17 million, which is $16.8 million out of the Red Sox price range. So they were never involved with Rhys Hoskins, who feels like he's going to be a perfect Brewer. Like I feel like they always try and get like the 99-cent version of Rhys Hoskins in recent years. They'll go out, they'll get like Rowdy Tellez.
Yeah,
Luke
yeah,
Voigt. They're like, let's
yeah.
kick the tires on Luke Voigt. And they were just like, you know what? For why no one else wants this guy? We've been begging to get a guy like this. Yeah, come on it. Like not since like Richie Sexton or fucking Prince Fielder have we had a guy that we feel like we can just plop in the middle of the order and he's just gonna hit 37 home runs for us. Great. Have at it, Reese. And 2 years, 17. I think the Athletic and
The
that
second one's an option, right?
probably. I
Yeah.
don't remember the last time someone signed a deal without options.
Yeah, the second one's an option. Yeah.
But it's like I think the Athletic at the beginning of the offseason pegged him for like 1 year 14. So 2 for 34. That's where it's just like no one thought to give him like 3 for 50. No one thought to give him 4 for 75. Like I feel like you could have locked up. Teams consistently blow my mind when like JD Martinez hit free agency coming off a year where like everyone was trying to trade for him at the deadline. He hits free agency. There's one suitor. Like I don't like. It's so valuable to have a bat like that in the middle of the lineup.
It is, and his
like, well,
his contract wasn't prohibitive either.
No,
like, I don't remember what he got. It was like what 5 for 1, right? Like that's. I'm not gonna say that's nothing, but it's not a ton by elite hitter standards because that's what JD Martinez was. He was like a top 5 hitter in the sport,
right?
And you're paying him $22 million a year. I don't care if he's the only a DH. I don't give a fuck. Have you seen him hit? Saw him hit. Like, okay, he's designated to hit. Yes, for a good reason. Have you seen him hit?
Yeah, it's also like one of the 9 lineup. Like you need that on your team. Like it's part of your team. It's literally a spot you have carved out for it.
Right, and I don't care if he's just quote unquote just a DH. So is David Ortiz. So is Edgar Martinez. So is Shohei Ohtani. Yes, he pitches. I'm talking about the hitter side. I'm talking about the hitter side. Excuse me.
Shohei doesn't.
Listen, as all the hitters, but he is one of the best hitters in baseball. He's one of the best players in baseball before you even get to the pitching. Is kind of the point, because he hits as good as well as he fucking does. So like I don't like what do we? But yeah, Reese, and also like random nugget. I want to say he's played. They said he played like 9 games in Miller Park. He's hit 6 bombs.
He's raked. He's
hit like 6 bombs in 9 games in Miller Park. That I'm sure that didn't play too big a part. It's too small a sample, but it's nice to have. And that's like the 7th best home run park in baseball the last couple of years. He's gonna have his typical season. If you look at Reese's last 3 seasons, I think he's hit between like 242 and 245 every single season. Gets on base at like a 33% clip. Has like a 460, 470 slug, 480, maybe a little bit higher than that. He hits 30 home runs. Gonna have like a 120 OPS plus, and you're gonna be happy with it. Like that's Rhys Hoskins. You're gonna be happy with your signing. Like the return on investment is probably gonna be really good for this.
Right. I thought, in 9. This is from Cespedes Barbecue. In 9 career games in Milwaukee, Rhys Hoskins is at 342, 405, 790 with 5 home runs.
790 is outrageous, but yes. 790 is fucking outrageous. I don't care what the sample is. 790 is outrageous. But 5 bombs, okay.
Milwaukee is
nice.
Milwaukee is a very underrated home run park. And what I mean by that is, as a viewer at home, that cut from behind the pitcher to seeing the ball sailing, very few parks are as aesthetically pleasing as Milwaukee, the Brewers got. I love watching home runs.
Even though they changed their stadium's name to some bullshit. It's like it's like Family something.
I've completely stopped caring about what buildings are named.
Like, yeah, once the Lakers named Staples Crypto, that's kind of when it jumped the shark for me. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
That was crazy. Like Staples, was almost bad branding because I never once equated it to the company Staples. Like it was always
Never. It was
like this
always the
is a
Lakers.
building called Staples Center. No idea why.
Right.
Irrelevant. Lakers play here. They let the Clippers play sometimes. Like that was how I viewed that building. It was a Staples Center. It had nothing to do with the fucking office supply company. Nothing. So it was definitely a waste of money from that. I'm sure other people didn't think that way, but I feel like most people thought it like me. Like, oh yeah, that's where the Lakers play. I don't care about I think Mitt Romney owned Staples, something like that. Like I don't care about that part of it. And watching everything get renamed, and I'm sure that's happened before my life, but also probably not. Commercialization has
Yeah, it's
gotten
been
pretty
rampant.
crazy the last 30 years. Like US Cellular was the White Sox one. I think that was like mid 2000s when that opened. I think that name's been changed like 4 times. Like I have no idea what it's called. No idea.
I've been calling that shit Comiskey forever.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't plan to stop. So, but yeah, American Family Field. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What is that? Like Miller Park just worked. It worked.
Yeah.
Good name.
Perfect.
Really good name. American Family Field. What kind of
Is St.
bullshit?
Louis Bush still?
I'd assume so. But let's take
It
a
might
look.
not. I don't know.
I'd assume so. Yeah, still Bush.
Okay. I'll call it that the rest of my life. I'll never even consider if they change it. It's Bush. I'm sorry.
I'm too old to be adapting, bro, to certain stuff. Like changing the name of stadiums. Like, bro, I'm 36, bro. I'm not
Like
36.
Phillies is the bank. That's just always going to be the bank. I know that's not even what it has been forever, but it's gotten so popular. It's just the bank. It is what it is. Yankees will probably never sell stadium rights.
I hope not.
Yeah, I just can't
Because
imagine.
I don't want to see who they're going to sell it to. So I just, I really don't. I don't have any interest in seeing who the fuck they're going to sell it to. No, thank you.
I mean,
No,
the Yankees did come out and make a pretty bold statement. They finally have updated their uniforms. This had to have taken years to come up with this alteration for the road kits. It was pretty stunning to see such a conservative organization put all that flair on on the kit. What did you think of the new Yankees road uniforms?
this sarcasm is beneath. No, it's not beneath you. You do this. No. What did I think? Am I supposed to think something about this? It's the same fucking jersey. They took off what the white line. It's the same fucking jersey. What am I supposed to think about this? Like, if at least if they went, if they announced like, all right, we're going back to like the 1920 home uniforms for like weekend games or whatever the fuck, right? Like it's an alternate jersey. All right, that's a significant change. This is just not like I saw people like,
They took the border off.
but that's it. That's literally, and I saw people just like analyzing this, and I'm just like, bro, am I blind? Like they did nothing. They did nothing. They just it's like the picture of homeboy who's fat or whatever. He's losing weight. And then they just like, yeah, all that motherfucker did is step back because he's 15 steps back and he's the same goddamn fat dude he was in the first picture. That's all this is. That's all this is. Like it's the same goddamn jersey. Took the border off. Who cares?
It's just so that's funny that that's the Yankee perspective because the rest of us, and I do speak for the other 29 franchises, we just laugh because it's like, look at this boring ass fucking team. Like this team stinks.
It's so boring,
this
dude.
team
It's
an affront to truly everything I stand for as a person is the New York Yankee. Like it everything top to bottom about that organization disgusts me. What the fuck? The Red Sox don't even have these like frilly, like they're not like the wildest jerseys, but there's some fucking color and it's not just like drab gray. Like the gray and the blue, I've never seen that shade of navy on. It's so blue, it's black.
I don't I don't mind simple and I don't mind the jerseys. But if you're gonna change them, change them. Like change them. Do something. Add something. Add a color. Add a patch. Do something. Don't announce a fucking change to me and it's you took the border off. Don't announce a change and then that's the fucking change. You didn't do anything. You legitimately could have came out opening day with them on, and we might not have noticed. Nobody
No.
would have Nobody would have noticed. So why are you? Don't announce that shit to me. If you want to change them, change them. Be my guest. But if you're gonna change them, number one, actually change the fucking jerseys. And if this is going to be the change that you put forth, don't fucking announce it. Because I looked at this shit, I'm like, bro, am I missing something? Because all they did was take the bar off. At what? And I see people like, man, these look so clean. So you must have thought that about the previous jerseys. It's the same jersey. It's the same fucking jersey. This is not like when they when they wore those black players weekend jerseys for 2 days.
Yeah.
And we never saw them again. At least that was a radical fucking change, whether you liked it or not. That's very, very different. This shit is like, it's the same jersey. What are we? It's the same. It's the literal same jersey.
The more I'm thinking about it, I don't know if there's a team with a more drastic drop off home and away options than the Yankees, because the home white pinstripes, like,
It slaps.
yeah, it's iconic. Like, it
Slaps.
obviously, I think only terrible things when I see it, but I'm objectively, it works. Like, it all works. Like, they're called the pinstripes, despite the fact that there's like 6 teams that wear pinstripes. Like, it's not
it's really obnoxious. Like, it's so obnoxious.
It's not the only team
really
in the city that wears pinstripes. Like, the Mets wear pinstripes. No one cares.
Well, yeah, the Mets are dick riders, but yeah, keep going.
The Phillies pinstripe. No one cares. The Marlins had pin. No one cares. It's very will always be funny. Rockies. The fucking Rockies have the audacity to pinstripe. No one gives a fuck. But the away, it may as well just be like a gray t-shirt. Like, even the blue is gray. Like, that's how gray and grout fit that fucking away. It stinks. It absolutely stinks.
Bro, the road jersey, and I actually own one, but that's neither here nor there. The road jersey, it's like when you start franchise mode or like MVP baseball or one of them, and you get to relocate and change new jerseys and put forth new jerseys. And like you're just too lazy to actually do anything at the screen where the New Jerseys are, and you're just like, all right, man, skip. Like, just give me the default, whatever you got. That's what it looks like when we talk about the Yankees road jerseys. It's mad lazy. It's gray with New York written across. Like, we didn't have any other ideas. Like, that's what we had.
Never tried.
They never tried. It's mad lazy. It's gray. It's gray with New York written across. And listen, I'm here for simple. I like simple in some cases. Hell, the pinstripes are simple. Iconic. Simple, it works.
Yeah.
Right, it works. I think personally the Brooklyn Nets jerseys are an example that comes to mind. I think they work. The court, it works. The road jersey for the Yankees, like, nah, dog. Nah, this ain't it. Nah.
That's terrible.
Like, that pissed me off, because the thing is, this type of stuff, it's never news anymore. Like it's never just, it comes out of nowhere. There's a rollout.
Right.
And you follow all kind of maniacs who know all kind of shit. So like you hear 4 days in advance, like, the Yankees are changing their jerseys. And now granted, I know the Yankees, so I know it ain't gonna be nothing drastic. No. But I expected something though. Like something. Anything. To just make me actually have an opinion. I saw that show, like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And just scroll past. Like, you want me to comment on this for what? For what? It's the same fucking jersey.
Team stinks. Absolutely stinks.
All right.
They just don't get it.
Let's relax. Let's relax. Your team got
outbid by the Kansas City Royals. We stink at baseball. That's completely
that's worse.
We look sick while we stink at baseball. Like, everything about when I picture like a baseball game being played at Yankee Stadium, like, there is this, like, that gray 90s, like you're watching it in a bar that still has people smoking cigarettes inside of it, like that. That's the color picture I have of Yankee Stadium. Like, yeah, it's colorized. It's not like black and white, but it's colorized with, like, smog. And that's not even a knock on the city. It's just there's some sort of gloom that lives within the walls of Yankee Stadium. Fenway Park, we have the aesthetics like head and shoulders above the Yankees. I don't even think it's close.
You do it too much, but okay.
I mean, you guys have that uniform fucking blue everywhere. Like, that stinks. It's not even the same color blue as the team. It's like a royal blue on the wall. What the fuck's going on here?
Bro, y'all got a green monster. What are we talking about?
It's sick. Some guy was like, oh, fuck, I was supposed to design that stadium, got hammered drunk, and just started drawing shapes. And he was like, here you go. It's unbelievable.
Is that the real story?
I don't think so, but it makes logical
sense. If you had told me that was the real story, I would have conceded so fast. Like, hey, you got it. Like, you got it.
If a sober person made those dimensions, it was like the 1900s, so like insane people weren't diagnosed with anything. There was no Zoloft, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could buy heroin in a bottle. Like, it was a different time. So I'm sure this guy did not have his head. So he was like, yeah, fucking let's hit the wall 1,000 feet in left field. And then if you hit a home run to right field, you only have to hit it like 150 feet. Does that sound cool to everyone? Everyone was like, yeah, that's sick.
Nah, those dimensions could not have been drawn up by a well person. Like,
no,
there's just no way. There's no way. And isn't what center field is like 430, isn't it? Like 418?
It's down the line to left and right field, the shortest in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
To dead center, it's the deepest in baseball.
Yes, it is. Like when you hit a home run dead center, you hit that shit. Like, you sock that shit.
An absolute shot. It's 420 to the center of the triangle. And it's like 117 Tabasky pole, like a $137 down left. Like, it's a hilariously drawn field, like, which is the advantage.
That person was well.
No, for sure not. And neither were the people who also agreed to the plans too. Like, it took multiple people being like, let's do it. Like, it wasn't.
Listen, the only thing I can think of it is like, all right, man, we trying to score. We trying to put people in the seats, man. That's the only thing I can think about that makes some sense.
I'm pretty sure it's almost the opposite, if I remember correctly. They built the walls so people couldn't like peer in. You know what I mean? From the streets. Like, back in the day, they used to like literally cut a hole in the wall and look through it. Like, I'm pretty sure they built the wall that high so people couldn't walk by and just like watch the game for free. I'm almost 90% sure that
I can't knock them for that. Honestly, like, seems like a wild precaution to take, but I don't blame them.
It's like, listen, 10 feet, they can figure out 10 feet. 37, good fucking luck, pal. Good luck. Just trying to scale this shit.
We talking about the Yankee shade of blue and y'all got green in y'all stadiums. Leave me alone, dude.
It's an unbelievable shade of green.
Is it?
I think so. I love it.
Is it? Nah, I like it too, jokes aside, but it's still green and y'all are the Red Sox. So what are we talking about?
Listen, we barely wear red socks. Like, none of it makes sense. That's why like, we have an X where there should be 3 extra letters, and we were like, nah, cut that shit off. We're going with S. Like, everything about aesthetically, again, you guys got the banners, all that shit. No one gives a fuck. When it comes to looking cool, you look cooler at Fenway Park than you do Yankee Stadium.
That's simply not true. But that's okay.
The white on the lines pops more at Fenway because your drab ass atmosphere dulls it's like there's a cloud like in the stadium, not even above it, just in Yankee Stadium.
I don't know, man. You get to a night game, turn the lights on, it pops, man. I don't know what we're talking about. It pops.
It reflects off all that because they've made it like a college football size stadium. The light just bounces off all the empty seats 700 feet above the surface of the earth. Like, what? That's also what, like, you can't put. I'll talk about refusing to call stadiums new names. If they move Fenway Park or build a new one, I don't know what I would do. Like, it pops up every few years up here. You've seen what it's done to old Yankee Stadium. It felt like right field was like on top of the second baseman. Like, it was in the way it was like built up to be on top of players. The new one just doesn't do. It's too spread out.
Yeah. It's not the same. Like, yeah, it's simply not the same.
And it's not like, oh, Yankee fans have gone soft. That's not it at all. It's like, truly the acoustics have changed. Like, I don't know that it can get as loud, even if you had more people screaming louder than it got
I mean, they've had massive playoff games in that place and it never got that loud. It's gotten loud. Like, ask the Astros, like what it was in 2017. Hell, ask them what it was in 2022. It's gotten really fucking loud, but it's never going to be like when David Justice hit the go ahead home run against the Mariners that year. And that play, like on TV, it sounded like that place was about to collapse, let alone being in the fucking building. So it's just, it's never going to be the same. The build is not the same. The people that are going to the games are not the same. On that list, I think it's more about the build than the people.
I
But
agree.
it's definitely more about the build than the people. But that's just what it is. And I hope that the Red Sox experience something similar really soon. Knock down Fenway. I agree.
No.
Knock down Fenway. And Fenway is and Fenway wasn't very kind to my joints. So knock down Fenway, please.
It's well, that's what I tell people all the time too. It's like if you're crying about more space and you're smaller than me, I don't respect your opinion because I'm happily ruining my knees to sit in these fucking seats.
Bro.
I'm fine with it.
Like my bias aside, I loved everything about Fenway but the seat. Legitimately everything. It was great. Like even the bars outside of Fenway were great. Like and as I've said on the show, people were way too polite. Like I wasn't prepared for that at all. I was like, I wasn't expecting people to just walk up to me and be shitheads for no reason either. Right. I wasn't expecting people to just walk up and just physically assault me or anything like that. But I was expecting some shit talk like, hey, fuck the Yankees a couple of times. Yo, none of that. They were mad polite. I was like, wow, y'all killing me with kindness. I wasn't prepared for this at all. I wasn't prepared for this at all, bro.
There's this thing with Boston. People think it's like the worst place ever, and then they visit it and they're like, "Oh, that was actually pretty nice." Like that wasn't
like I didn't think nothing of the people in that way. It's just I have a Yankee jersey on.
Oh,
like,
I mean,
I felt that it was going to come with some, some shit.
I mean, all of it. Like it's not even just the people. Like yeah, it's of course you go anywhere, it's going to be rare that you have like someone just come up to you and be like the biggest dickhead of all time. But, like Boston, just as a city, like it's not New York. That seems to be like it's kind of like Andrew Jones. Like it's just not New York. Okay, it's still very nice. Like it's still very nice. City.
Like I've been in Boston twice. I cannot lie and knock it as it's a nice fucking city.
Yeah, it's
it's not New York, but not many places are. No, and to be fair with New York, like we get a rap here for being, well, not nice people.
It's the Northeast, yeah.
And I firmly disagree. We mind our business. That don't mean we bad people. We just not talking to strangers, bro. And I don't know about anybody else from anywhere else. I was taught that as a kid. So I'm just that is my upbringing. I'm not running around talking to strangers. If you talk to me, I'm not gonna look at you like you have 18 heads. Well, depending on what you say. Sure, but if you're just starting up, if you say good morning to me, I'm not gonna look at you like I don't speak English. Okay? Like I'm not. I'm gonna just say good morning back and keep on pushing. But for the most part, that's just how we are. We don't engage in small talk. The city moves too fast for all of that. On top of it, way too fast. We are all trying to get somewhere. We all got somewhere to go. We don't got time to stop and talk to fucking strangers. We got none of that.
It's always been to me. People it's the South mostly. They get the polite and all that shit. Mm-hmm. But it's always like, yeah. Then you walk away. They talk shit behind your back. Like I'll say it to your face, but I'm not gonna like do it for no reason. Like it'll be earned if I say it to you. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, like you're saying, I'm keeping it moving. I don't give. I'm too worried about what's going on over here to give a fuck. And that's like as someone who's lived in both, not just visited, lived in both. You think of New York as like, I don't know, 18 billion people, whatever the population is these days. Mm-hmm. But it's not. It's 18 billion individuals. Like it's truly everyone's the center of their own universe. Nobody has time to give a fuck about what anyone else is doing unless they are a direct threat in some way.
Or somebody having an emergency.
Sure.
Like, right. Like unless something like really, really wrong with you, or unless you are a threat to me in some capacity, we are keeping it pushing. That's how it goes. We not talking to nobody. We not saying good morning to everybody that pass on the street. Nobody got time for that.
The fake pleasantries, like they mean nothing. Like I'll hold the door I did it tonight. I'll hold the door for 17 consecutive people. I don't expect thank yous and I rarely get them, but it's just understood. Again, we're in a society, not enough people want to act like it.
I agree.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, you need to, like, when people are like, I love Chick-fil-A, they say God bless or whatever the fuck when they hand you your receipt. It's like, I don't give a fuck what the person at the fast food place says. They don't have to take it from me. Just give me the food. I'll give you the money.
That's
But we
it.
don't have to make it out to me
That's
more
it.
than that. My pleasure. They say my pleasure. Like, I know it's not. Like, I don't.
Why are you lying to me? I didn't need to lie, bro. I asked for the food, not to lie. Like, I didn't need to lie. Like, I asked for the food, not to lie. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, it's so nut. You know what I find more endearing when I go to Taco Bell at 2 a.m. and everyone working in there is the highest person on the planet. They're more excited about my order than mine because that's genuine. You can't teach that. You can't put someone through a course and brainwash them to say my pleasure. That's fucking from here. When I go to Taco Bell and I order something and they go, hell yeah, man. Oh, that's so much better than my pleasure. Are you kidding me? The best.
It is. Like ordering from anywhere that late. Like I don't do Taco Bell, but the fast food spots, like, yeah, you get way more genuine when it's 1 p.m. 1 a.m. Like you get way more like real, like raw type of responses and just interactions in general. That's what you get at 1 a.m. as opposed to 3 p.m. where it's talking about my pleasure and then doing whatever else. Like, nah, man, I don't need that. Just give me the food, please. Thanks.
The top free agents left at each position. Because it's still most of them. Matt Moore signed with the Angels. The Angels have signed a couple of relievers this year.
The Angels are trying to build a team of like 27 or 25 one WAR players and then Mike Trout. We'll see how that goes for them. Let me report back. I guess Zach Nino's not too bad, so I'll include him. But yeah, it's fun.
And James Paxton, before we get into looking ahead and then dipping, James Paxton signed with the Dodgers. Do you think that means anything for Kershaw? I do, but I don't necessarily think it means he's leaving.
Honestly, I didn't link the two. Like, what I think it means is the Dodgers are just like, listen, we are going to sign 7 or 8 dudes who could pitch their ass off and just hope that 5 of them are healthy by the time October rolls around. Well, not even 5. We just need 3 or 4. Just hope 3 or 4 of them are healthy by the time postseason rolls around. We can mix and match bullpen wide. We can do whatever we want. But, like, I saw people were like, oh, is this a 5 or 6 man rotation? Bro, it's a whoever's healthy rotation. If we're going to just cut right to the nitty gritty, it's a whoever's healthy rotation. Glasnow's hurt. All right, Paxton rolls into his spot. Like, it's just, it's whoever's healthy. I don't expect Clayton Kershaw to sign there until July, maybe June, something like that. I don't expect him to sign it there anytime soon. So I think
that's kind of where I'm at. I think he's on his Roger Clemens right now. He's going to show up middle of the season, pitch in August and September, and then they have the luxury of not even needing him in the playoffs unless other people have gone down.
Right. And Susan Waldman's reaction to Roger Clemens in the press boxes or in the luxury boxes, insane to this day. Insane. Like, you could not cheerlead any harder than that. Like, relax. You know who Roger Clemens is. You've seen him before. Relax. Calm down.
But the top free agents, talking baseball, put out a nice little graphic. I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but Gary Sanchez, Yasmani Grandal, if you need a catcher, or a DH for Gary. I'm surprised that hasn't been really even floated by anybody. Just bring him in to DH. I think that's probably the best idea for him at this point.
He's going to sign 5 minutes after Blake Snell does. Let's be for real.
Also,
let's be for real, bro.
But it's like, if I needed a DH, there are worse options.
I mean, true, and then you have a backup catcher built into it.
Right.
It's not the worst idea.
First base, Brandon Belt, Carlos Santana, Joey Votto. I've seen better position groups.
Yeah, I don't have much comment there. Yeah.
Second base, Whit Merrifield. Was it Jorge Solano?
Nope. We don't got to. With Whit Merrifield at the top of the position, we can move on to the next one. I ain't no reason to talk about the rest of the dudes, man.
Shortstops, Tim Anderson, Brandon Crawford, Elvis Andrews. And Elvis Andrews signed like, I don't know, March 1st last year. So I can't imagine his market improved.
Hey man, congrats on Tim Anderson for having another child, and melting his family or multiple families together in a way that's kind of odd. Congrats to him.
That's his business. I stay out of all that.
Oh, it sure is his business, but it's really funny to watch unfold in public for a variety of reasons.
Matt Chapman, maybe dead. I don't
know. His right arm is just not working anymore. But yeah.
A guy I feel like, maybe you'll have a different opinion than me, but a guy I feel like every team in the league should want, regardless of their situation, is Gio Urshela. Like, you can play him truly at 3 infield positions. Not every day, but you could get away with playing him at 3 different infield positions. He doesn't necessarily need to start, but seems like he's really good every time I've ever watched him play.
I like Gio, and in an economy where a baseball team at least, they cry broke and then they don't want to spending $8 million, $9 million, $7 million, whatever it will cost to get Gio, where you could just plug him in at third if you want. Right. Short is a little dicey. Second, who cares? You could put him there. Or he could play all 3. He could come off the bench. He could he could just be a roamer. He could play every day at a different spot. Like, he could do a lot of things for a guy who I can't imagine will command a shit ton of money or years. So why he's out there, no idea. Well, meanwhile, Matt Moore is getting $9 million. No disrespect to Matt Moore, he's cool, but like Gio Urshela seems far too useful to still be out here.
Yeah, I would. Like, we just read the second base list. I would take Gio Urshela over all of them. No question.
No question asked.
DH, I almost called him Victor Martinez, JD Martinez, Justin Turner, Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson's a free agent every year.
Perpetually.
He is perpetually a free agent. It's been this way for like 6 years. It's awesome.
Plenty of talent there. Again, you could drop any of those guys in the middle of your lineup and you're thrilled about it.
So how many of them are the Red Sox going to sign?
None.
Why?
Right now, and I was tweeting about it yesterday, I think they're way higher on the guys they already have than literally every other person in the world. And I say that with respect to most of them, but it's like their floor is like the 30th out of 30 outfields in baseball. Like, that's super on the table. Their ceiling, if everything goes right, is like 15th. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's like, so like, that's if, wow, Willie Abreu is unbelievable. Like, he just repeats what he did last year. That's just who he is now. Right. Jarren Duran, I understand liking the potential of Jarren Duran. I think he's 27. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it's just like, you still don't know. 27, yeah. So you still don't really know what he is over a full season, because he played 102 games last year. That's the most he's ever played, pretty much double his previous career high. And he was like, 828 OPS. Like, he was good. It wasn't a hot month. It wasn't 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Right. For 102 games, he had an 828 OPS. Defense looked improved. I get that. He still only played 102 games. Like, that's not enough, especially if that's the production you're going to be missing when he's out. And that's really the year before, he played 58 games, 645 OPS. So it's not like there's some massive sample size you can point to and be like, that's what we can expect. It's like, you don't know what to expect. You really have no idea. And then left field's going to be Tyler O'Neill, who, again, it's kind of the same thing as Duran. Like, it's not that much different than what I just said about Duran. Better fielder, obviously. He's going to get hurt. They're too strong to be playing baseball. Like, they're way too
Nah, for real, though.
And I think they're thrilled with the idea of putting Yoshida DH, which I think he can do it too. He probably doesn't get tired, and he shouldn't be getting as tired either. It's year 2. He should be pretty adjusted. Obviously, the bat's what you paid for in the first place, even if it's not the people who signed him in the first place still there. I don't know that left was the position that needed the defensive upgrade. Like, I don't know that now that Tyler O'Neill's in left and Duran's in center and Abreu's in right, like now the entire team defense is going to be better. Grisham should improve that whole situation. Story should be really good defensively. Devers is going to be Rafael Devers, which is he'll make a Gold Glove looking play one game, and then the next game
He'll fire this shit 15 feet over the first base.
yeah, and that's after he juggled it for 3 seconds, and he's trying to make up for it, and ends up making things much worse. That's what it is. Like, that didn't improve at all, and I love that.
It didn't improve the situation. You should just ate it, bro. Just take
You know
the L,
what?
man.
I hate to bring it up even, but the only thing I've ever seen improve Rafael Devers' defense is after he fucks up, Xander Bogaerts would put his arm around him and say, "No big deal, we got you." He didn't have that last year, and he was visibly moping on the bench after a series in Houston in particular, where he just could not buy an out to save his life, and they kept hitting it at him. It was very rude by the Houston Astros that they took such advantage of my poor son Rafi, who was clearly very depressed about what was happening, and they just kept hitting the ball at him. Very rude. And Casas, I mean, he was like one of the worst fielders in baseball last year. It was first, so it didn't matter. You would assume he improves, but I don't know that he's about to pull in a Gold Glove either. So your corners are still bad, assuming your top outfield's out there. And if Rafaela plays, great. But I think they're like low-key thrilled about the lineup right now, and I am not.
I mean, they could win 95 games this year.
I could literally say that about every team, and you can't necessarily say I'm lying.
I was being facetious.
No shit. That's like, yeah, any team could. I've seen
they genuinely could, but that's like the 95th percentile outcome. So
sure. And that's what I think they kind of think they're getting. I think they're like, people are sleeping on us. And this has happened to the Red Sox before, 4 GMs ago, where it was like, yeah, they're kind of sleeping on us. We like what we got. We think we signed the right veterans. And that's the fucking difference. They've signed nobody. They've had one of the more active off seasons, as weird as that is to say, just because everyone else has kind of sat it out other than the Dodgers. But they've kind of just shuffled deck chairs. They're like, Verdugo's out, Tyler O'Neill's in. It's like, okay, that's the same thing, just cheaper. And then they're like, Chris Sale's out, Giolito's in. It's like, all right, they saved like $7 million, and they've got more innings, most likely, but with a worse pitcher. So it's like, okay. I think that's very peculiar offseason. Grissom was the only like thing you can point to, and it's like, we didn't have anything like that last year. Neat.
I feel like we're being too disrespectful to Lucas Giolito personally, because to me that's a full throttle type of move.
That's what they did. And that really brings me to the last part, because Jordan Montgomery is one of the pitchers, and fucking what's his goddamn name? Who's the reporter? Heyman was out there today doing his like weekly live. I don't know who's watching that. I don't know where it exists. I only see clips after the fact where he reports on things. And he said Montgomery still being linked heavily to the Rangers, but you can't rule the Red Sox out. Unless Jordan Montgomery's like, I'm either taking $250 million from the Rangers or $17 from the Red. Those are, and I'm thinking about the Red. Like, in what world, after what ownership said directly to the fan base? This wasn't through the paper. This wasn't backdoor conversation that got leaked. They said it directly to the fan base. Our payroll is going to be lower than it was last year. Where are they fitting Jordan Montgomery's projected like best case scenario? $25 million.
They're not allowed to change their minds, Coley.
I don't know why. I can't imagine a more like risky thing to say to an already angry fan base, and just to backtrack it. Like, that's like, just don't say it.
Create low expectations and exceed them.
I guess I saw some people saying this is a Boris play to leverage the Rangers. The Rangers aren't stupid. The The whole industry knows the Red Sox are being cheap fucks right now.
Leverage the Rangers is really funny.
Using the Red
Because
Sox, use the fucking A's.
what
That's
bracket?
more believable.
Even if let's say the Red Sox are in on Montgomery, what bracket do they think the Red Sox are playing in at this point? Like they've showed you what they're doing. Can things change? Yes. It is January 24th. Season starts in March, late March. A lot of things can change between now and then. Do I expect them to pony up a 150 some odd offer, 150 million some odd offer for Montgomery? No, I do not. And I don't see what would change between now and time comes for him to sign. But yes, you could leverage anybody with anybody, technically speaking. And Scott Boras is an expert at this, so he knows what the fuck he's doing. It's laughable to me because it's just like using the Red Sox to try and get more money out of somebody else at this point is
insane,
exceedingly funny.
Insane behavior.
You might as well just link you might as well just say the Yankees, bro. Like you'd have better chance with that. You might as well. Like
they asked, I think it was Breslow directly, what they offered Yamamoto, and he just said clearly not enough. So that's, I think, the closest we're going to get to a number. I'm guessing it was like,
brother, do you understand how embarrassing? I know we've beaten that point to death, but do you understand how embarrassing their offer must have been that we can't even get a number, bro?
I'm thinking I'll give them more credit than they deserve right now. I bet they went to 210 over 7. I bet that was their offer, and they thought like that's fairly competitive. And then the Dodgers were like, "Here's $115 million more dollars," and Yamamoto was like, "Yeah, I'll obviously take that."
I think they offered him 100 personally, like 8 for 100. Here you go. Like, are you going to sign with this or not? Like, sir, I already have a $200 million offer on the table, and I haven't even started interviewing yet. We got 100 for you.
I think if they were playing up in the 300s like the Mets and the Yankees were, that would have been out. That would have been before he even signed with.
The
Dodgers. Sure. It would have been out
for sure.
The fact that they're like not enough makes me think like, yeah, we thought he was going to live in like the low to mid 200s, and we were very wrong. Like it's still not a good thing that they were wrong, but I think that's what they said or what they did, something along those lines. And I have no intel on that. That's just a guess. One thing that's bothered me that Breslow said recently though is he was like, we don't want to cost ourselves future wins by doing something we don't truly believe right now, which is like a bullshit way of being like, we're not trading our top prospects for Jesus Luzardo, but we also can't sacrifice signing Jordan Montgomery because it doesn't tie up your cap space. It doesn't sacrifice future wins at all. Like he's taking a rotation spot. Do we have this flood coming of like we have too many pitchers? That's not the case at all. Like you signing, that's the biggest frustration. Signing this guy. Are you getting Prime Pedro? No. Are you getting what would be like your opening day starter? Yeah. I don't see how that's an issue. Like it's truly just money. You're not giving up a comp pick, nothing. Literally nothing, just money. You don't even like you can trade Kenley too and like have it cancel out a little bit. I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all.
I love it.
They're just illogical, and that bothers me more than anything. Like they want all of it at once, and it just stinks. Cody Bellinger's back as like the top position player available that everyone hates. For a lot of Michael A. Taylor love this offseason.
Pardon me?
Yeah, like people are like, as a righty option, he's an elite defensive player, and I'm like, he's not a righty option. Like he does not hit the ball. Like
the Michael A. Taylor, like what you said after the first sentence perplexed me, but the first sentence got me confused. Michael A. Taylor love what?
I've seen a lot of people floating him.
And don't get me wrong. Listen, if you have some loaded lineup and you want to just plug somebody in center field and don't worry about it, you can. Like I'm not here to say the man's a bad player. I'm not here to say that. He ain't good enough for love though. Like why we don't need to openly advocate for our teams to sign him either. You really don't.
So
He's a righty option. No, he's not. He doesn't hit. Like,
he
no,
hit,
he's not.
he hit 21 home runs last year, like a career high, obviously. And his OPS plus was 94. Do you know how hard that is to be
That's hard to pull off.
plus 20 home runs and have an OPS plus? That's like, nah, no. No, you
Like,
do not.
you hit 21 home runs and you're still a below average offensive player by a good enough margin, no less. Like, that's tough. It's tough luck.
His career high, he's also like 32. He's not like he's crazy young. And I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, maybe we should sign Spencer Turnbull. He's still young. And then I look it up. This guy's 30 fucking one. It's like,
Yeah,
wow.
oh yeah. Spencer
I
Turnbull.
just remember him coming up. He should not be
He
31.
came up late, obviously. So
But he's
came,
also
clearly, yeah.
been pitching longer than I recall too. So that
He's
it's
been
so,
pitching. I thought he was pitching for like 5 years. He's been pitching longer than that.
well, he's also a guy who missed a full season with an injury.
He did.
So he came up in 18. 18 was his first year.
Oh yeah, that sounds about 5 years. Yep. Yeah, you're just old.
Yeah, but it's been 6 real world years is the problem for him. 22, he didn't pitch at all.
Right. He old, man.
He's also at really no point been good.
It's always some like his peripherals or this, that, or third. He could get better. Blah blah blah. It's always something with Turnbull.
He started 21. He started 9 games and he had a 2.88 ERA. He only threw 50 innings though, but that was comfortably the best he's been. In 2020, he was fine too. He started 11 games, 3.97. So I get the optimism, but yeah, after he threw that no-hitter, I'm pretty sure his arm fell off, and then he didn't play at all in 22. And then last year he had a 7.26 over 7 starts. So it's like, yeah, I'm paying a 31-year-old who's had like 20 starts that I feel okay about. I understand why he's super available.
I think the Red Sox should get on that.
Again, if he were 29, I'd be like, that's an unbelievable idea. 31, it's like, I don't know how much left there could be. This guy's got a foot in the grave. I don't know. I don't know that we can do it.
The Red Sox should sign like 3 dudes like him. Why not?
Oh, they told fucking Cooper Criswell to stretch out because he's got a shot at the rotation. It's just like, listen, if they turn him into like a viable, I'm not saying an ace, like I'm not going to if they turn him into a viable starter in the major leagues, they could sign the worst people alive and I'll trust the Breslow, Bailey system. Like if they can make Cooper Criswell even just a number 5, like I don't have high expectations. I don't expect him to really make the fucking team. So if he's a viable starter, yeah, give these guys, don't sign any starters ever. Just get the worst people and make them good. That's obviously a better plan.
Seems like a sustainable model. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it for sure isn't, but if they can do it with this,
they earn the benefit of the doubt if they make something like that.
Then,
for sure.
Then
for
they
sure.
Can be like, see why we didn't overspend on number 3s. I'd be like, yeah, I do. But they haven't done that yet. So it's a wait and see.
I love it.
I don't.
I'm glad we're here.
Go out and get those Yankees road jerseys. They're flying off the shelves. People can't believe.
Oh, yeah. I ordered 8 already.
Do you guys not put the name on the back of the road jerseys too?
Correct.
So
rightfully so. Rightfully so. I'm with the nameless backs.
I like them at home. You should know your players at home. Like that feels fair.
Yeah, I'm with the nameless
fucking name on the road jersey. What do you
No,
know?
you know us everywhere. We're the fucking Yankees. You know us everywhere. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Them people in Kauffman Stadium damn sure know us. They know us. People in Heinz, PNC, whatever the fuck it's called. They know us. The people in what the fuck is Cincinnati's park called? Why don't I just stick with the parks I know?
Aren't they Great America?
Great American, yes. They know Miller Park. They know. Everybody knows the Yankees, bro.
They know the team. They don't know the whole fucking.
They know. They know. They know who DJ LeMahieu is. They know who Gleyber Torres is. They know.
I don't know why you wouldn't just say Gleyber. I don't. Say the good player.
I wanted to start at the bottom and work my way up. But yeah, they know who we are.
Glaber is going to be such a good Red Sox. We'll see everybody next week.
Fuck off. Good night.